Hi, and welcome to 48 Minutes or Less NBA Podcast. I'm Sawyer, and with me today we have George. So we normally release a podcast, we have some news, and then have a topic in it. But we actually recorded our topic earlier on because Lewis was going to head out of town. So we decided to go ahead and record that topic about NBA ratings and stuff like that. But then that was before there being a lot of news that's happened over the last week or so. And so we decided what we're going to do instead is we're going to release two podcasts this week. This one today, just about news that's happened over the last few days. And then we'll release the one about NBA ratings and stuff on Thursday. So you get two podcasts for the price of zero because it's free. A podcast and it's free. So first we're going to talk about the fact that David Fizdale was fired by the Knicks this week. And, I mean, what's your initial reaction to this, George?
Honestly, it was bound to happen. I know the Knicks are always looking for an excuse. And with the reports earlier on a couple weeks ago about them not being happy with Fizdale, they were just waiting for a big loss, like they just recently had with the Nuggets, for them to look for an out on firing Fizdale. I mean, how many coaches have they fired? How many times do they keep making the same mistakes? And I'm not surprised Fizdale got fired. I don't think it's Fizdale's fault. The team is a mess. The organization is a mess. The owner's a mess. So it was just bound to happen.
Yeah, I mean, they I don't think they really put a great team around him. I mean, they went out this summer and signed how many forwards when they were already had a young forward in Kevin Knox, and they go out and get Julius Randle, they get Marcus Morris Sr., and they get, who else? There was Bobby Portis and Taj Gibson, too, I believe. Like, what are you doing? Those are four power forwards / one of them being like a small forward, kind of. And, like, that just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I struggle with the Knicks a lot because I just don't see what they're doing. Like, it doesn't have sense. So you look at a team like Atlanta was a couple years ago. You look at the Memphis Grizzlies. You even look at the Cavs, for God's sakes. And you can tell that they're trying to play their young players. They're trying to become better. They're rebuilding. And they're selling you on their future, the future, the future potential of these young players. But with the Knicks, they're not selling you on young players, but then they also can't get any free agents. They just have a mess of a team, and it's embarrassing to see. And then you have good veteran players on your team, but then they don't work together because they all play the same position, or you don't have a primary ball handler, or you don't have some guy who can facilitate for others, or you don't have someone who can space the floor. It just doesn't work. So you have like Marcus Morris Sr., who's a good role player, is going to look bad on the Knicks. Wayne Ellington, who's a good role player, is going to look bad on the Knicks. And I can just go on and on and on about just all the players. And they're just looking for a reason. That's why they fired Fizdale.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, too, has to do with the fact that, like, this part, I think, is sort of on Fizdale, where he'll put a player in, like, the quote-unquote doghouse, not play him a lot of minutes, and then all of a sudden he's playing 30 minutes the next day. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, if you're going to lower some of these minutes, you lower some of these minutes for a good set period of time. Or you just bench them and don't play him. But, I mean, like, Kevin Knox has gone, like, up and down with his minutes all year. And if he's a young guy, you're trying to see what you have with him. You want to play him a good amount of minutes. Like, you don't need to play him 25, 30 minutes a game. But if you're consistently giving him 20 minutes and seeing if he can carve out a role in your system to see what you have in him, that's what you need to do. But, like, I think recently he didn't even play in a game. Just straight up didn't play.
Yeah, it's just miscommunication between management, the owner, and then the coaching staff. They didn't just fire Fizdale, they fired the assistant coach as well. And so it's just there's miscommunication where they're not on the same page. And it keeps happening with the Knicks where the coaching staff and management are not on the same page. And it just seems like everyone's just trying to protect their own ass the whole time. And so it doesn't build for an organization. So what do you think this means for the Knicks for the rest of the season? I mean, right now they have Mike Miller and Pat Sullivan as their interim head coaches. And there are a couple of names and possible hires right now. About 6 people whose names have been thrown around including Mike Miller and Pat Sullivan, for the new potential head coach for the upcoming season.
Yeah, I actually like the idea. I don't know who it was. I think it was in the same article about the fact that Mark Jackson might be a candidate. And I think that out of any of the potential candidates, I think he's the most intriguing. He has been out of coaching for for quite a while now, like 5-6 years, something around that time. And I don't know if that would hurt him or not, but I mean, he seems like a good enough coach that he might be good enough. Or, I mean, I would even say like go with like a young up and comer kind of guy where you can like give him a shot, similar to how what the Hawks did when they got their coach. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he wasn't like a well-known coach or anything like that. And I know it's the Knicks, and the Knicks they're in New York, so they need to have this big name as their coach probably and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, if anything, if you're gonna look for like a higher profile coach, I think that Mark Jackson is probably your best shot there. But
other names that have been coming out, there was Jerry Stackhouse, but I know when he signed with Vanderbilt, he was saying how he wants to lie low, and I think going to the Knicks is like the exact opposite of laying low. So I don't know if he'd want to play in the Knicks. And then there was also David Blatt, who has been also out of a coaching job for a while. But I don't know if David Blatt is your coach that I mean, with the Knicks organization, is any coach able to do anything with them? With their problem with management, with their issues with management.
I mean, it all starts with the ownership. It all comes from ownership down, and Knicks fans are loyal, but they can only take so much. I mean, you made this promise with when you traded Porzingis, you're like, we're gonna get a high profile free agent this summer, and this and that, and we'll be good, we'll be fine, all that kind of stuff, and then you just fell on your face. Like that was just a ridiculous summer that they had, and I don't see a plan in mind. Like, are they competing, are they not competing? Like you said, you can tell with some teams, you're like, they're trying to play their younger players because they know they probably don't have a shot in the playoffs, so let's see what we got. I mean, I think the Hornets are a good example as well. I don't know if you mentioned them. Like, they're playing a lot of their young players, and their older players aren't even playing hardly at all. Maybe a little bit of minutes here and there, but they're not really starting. I mean, they're like going with PJ Washington, seeing what he's got, and he's playing really well. Miles Bridges and Devontae Graham giving them shots.
My problem with the Knicks is also like, so when you look at the team like Brooklyn, or you look at a team like the Clippers, who got really good free agents this summer, they were playing a lot of their more veteran players as well, because you want to like kind of show presence. It's like, hey, come here if you get a star here in 2021. Giannis, if you come here in 2021, because I know they're shooting for 2021 free agency.
Well, that's what they say now. It was this past summer.
Yeah, but I mean, just so if you're shooting for 2021, and you're trying to make yourself look better, so you're showing like, hey, come here, we have good role players that you can build a star around. But the problem is, most of the role players that they do have are signed to be free agents in 2021. They have 2-year contracts. They have non-guarantees. So this team that you currently are playing and the players that you're playing are ideally not even going to be on your team in 2 years. So shouldn't your main goal be to develop the young players, figure out what you have with your point guard situation, figure out if Dennis Smith Jr. is a good player, figure out if you're going to at least build up Frankie Smoke's trade value to trade him if he's not part of your future. I mean, you're playing R.J. Barrett a lot, but then you're not doing anything with Kevin Knox. He's in and out of the rotation. He comes off the bench. Figure out if he's even worth being in the rotation. And then tank as well. I mean, obviously not tank, but I mean, if you're the Knicks organization where you sell out tickets like nothing, you could be bad and you sell out tickets. God, if that's one organization that should tank, it's the Knicks. It's not like Memphis Grizzlies, who have trouble selling tickets, and now they have to tank.
Exactly. And I mean, they're even playing their young players. They're not playing older players. They're not even playing Iguodala. They could have tried to play him or force him to play, even though he doesn't want to play for them. But he's not playing. But
I just love how the Memphis Grizzlies are trying to lose. They're in the Harder Conference, and they have a better record.
And they're a better team.
They're just a better team. What do you think it means for Fizdale now? What do you think he's gonna do?
I don't really know. I mean, it's hard to really tell because it's so early in the season. Like, I can't really see any teams right now who may fire their coach soon, and you could be like, well, that's where Fizdale's gonna go. So I mean, I think if anything, he either takes a job in broadcasting or becomes an assistant coach somewhere.
Yeah, I bet Miami would have him again.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, like, I don't think he's a bad coach at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think he was given an impossible situation. If I'm him, take the rest of the year off. You have a crap ton of money from the Knicks. And you're still going to be getting paid. I actually should do a report on how much money the Knicks have paid coaches that they've fired.
That'd be interesting, actually.
Should I apply for the Knicks position?
I think they would hire just about anybody right now. I mean, it doesn't. Well, I mean, not just anybody. They won't hire Phil Jackson. That's for sure.
No, they already did that.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Honestly, they probably would hire Phil Jackson. It's the Knicks.
That's the Knicks thing to do, of course. So, yeah, do you feel like moving on?
Yeah, I actually, so I kind of want to talk, this is more new, and it kind of been coming out over the last, 2 days or something. Another team that's actually having issues with their coach and are also looking for trades right now is the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so there's been reports that the Cavs are unhappy with John Beilein. Well, the players are, and the way he coaches. Apparently, he's coaching them more like a college program rather than an NBA team. And players themselves are actually look toward Bickerstaff instead of Beilein. And I don't know, do you think this might be an issue with the fact that there were reports that he was good coaching. He's a great college coach. And sometimes there's a transition. And I personally don't think he's doing a bad job. Yeah, the Cavs have a bad record, but the Cavs are a bad team. But he's also old. He's 70. He's the oldest coach right now in the NBA. And there's not really a future with him. I don't see him being there in the next 5 years. So it was a weird hire when he was hired, even though he is a good coach. Maybe the players aren't resonating with him because he's older and he just has never coached in the NBA before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I honestly haven't been following the Cavs very much just because they're the Cavs. And they haven't been much since LeBron James left. But, I mean, I know that they're looking at, trading Kevin Love and a couple other contracts to try to get them off the books. And, I mean, I think Kevin Love's their best trade asset as long as they can get a good enough stuff for him.
I think they should trade him, now. As soon as possible. He's been playing really well this year.
Yeah,
he has not been injured.
The worst thing that could happen to him is if he gets injured.
Yeah, so I think I don't think his trade value is actually that high, but I think it's the highest it's been in the last year and a half.
Probably, yeah, because he was hurt all last year.
And I think you have potential with Portland looking for even Orlando.
Yeah, there's plenty of teams out there that could use a forward/center and smaller lineups kind of player. It's just a matter of finding the right combination for them, as well as the team getting Love that they're not stupid enough. The Knicks, for God's sakes, could go and trade for Kevin Love. I don't know what they could offer them, but I mean, hey, it's possible, isn't it? It's the Knicks; they could use another forward, right? But I mean, they're trying to look. I guess Toronto even is interested in Tristan Thompson, and the Jordan Clarkson's interested in the 76ers.
Well, the 76ers are interested in Jordan Clarkson. I'm a little. They're both expiring contracts, both Tristan Thompson and Jordan. I'm a little bit confused with Toronto why they would want Tristan Thompson's great, but I don't see why they would want that. Why they would want him. Maybe in hopes of re-signing him for a cheaper contract coming off with bird rights. Because ideally, Marc Gasol is going to leave, or you're not going to re-sign him. He's old. And so you want a defensive center, and Tristan Thompson is 29. So I think there's potential in that. That's the only reason I could see why they would want him. Because with Ibaka and Marc Gasol, they don't really need a center.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Cavs are always a mystery to me. Last year I know they went out and got a couple contracts that people were just trying to get rid of, and they were taking them back and trying to get some draft picks and stuff for them. And they're like you said, their coaching hire just didn't quite make sense with what, he's the kind of coach you might hire in the hopes of trying to turn things around. Doesn't seem like the kind of great I don't know. He doesn't seem like a great developmental coach kind of guy. I mean, he may be. I don't really know a lot about him. I know he coached Michigan, and Michigan's been good for the last couple of years in college. But I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to say because I don't think he's a bad coach. Maybe either. I mean, it's hard to tell. We don't really know a lot about him in the NBA, but there's not a lot you can do if you're looking at trading. Because, I mean, you could arguably say that Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love have been the best players for the Cavs this year.
Yeah, I actually would say Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, and Jordan Clarkson, low-key, is having a career year. He's been playing really good basketball.
And so what do you expect out of the team if you trade those players?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's obvious at this point that you're not looking to playoffs. It's so again, it seems like another team without a clear direction in terms of the way they're going. I mean, you kind of get they're going to go into a rebuild, but then they go and sign Kevin Love to a long-term contract, and you're just like, you do that, I guess, in the hopes of trying to trade him, and that's the only logical reason I could think of for re-signing Kevin Love.
Yeah, I think it was because they still wanted to prove that they could be competitive without LeBron James, which is idiotic. And then without LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love is good, but he's not the main centerpiece of a successful team anymore. With his age, he was barely the main centerpiece when he was in his prime in Minnesota.
Yeah,
and obviously Minnesota had issues with him getting 6 men once and coming off the bench, but that's besides the point. I mean, you can actually try to get good pieces for Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, and Jordan Clarkson. I think the 76ers could give something valuable for Jordan Clarkson, and Jordan Clarkson and the 76ers would be great. Yeah, he's bad defensively, but they're a good defensive team. And right now, if they can get anyone to score, that's a benefit for that team. And Jordan Clarkson, if there's one thing that guy knows how to do, is get buckets.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess it's all wait and see. I mean, December 15th is coming up soon, and that's when 40% of the league is now tradable.
Yeah, I think coming in the next 2-3 weeks, we're going to start seeing the movements and trades are going to start coming out. And I'm pretty excited for that because I think the league has been sort of, the last 2 months have been not boring, just nothing exciting when it comes to, teams are just, they're what I expected them to be.
Well, there's been a couple of surprises, but when it comes to trades and stuff, I think we'll get a better idea of what teams think about their own team here soon in terms of where they see their team going.
If the Cavs do trade all 3 of those players, they're gonna be on my watch list because I think that would be the right step in the right direction. I was already really proud is a weird word to say because I have no connection to the Cleveland Cavaliers besides my love for LeBron James, and he's not even on the team anymore. But I was proud of them for drafting Darius Garland because they took the player that they thought was the best available. They already had their point guard. They didn't pull an Atlanta Hawks, which was, to me, one of the biggest mistakes of the draft, trading up for a piece that honestly is not that good for 4th pick with DeAndre Hunter because they already felt like they were done in their rebuild and they were looking for pieces to complete the thing. You didn't see the Cavs go for, Jarrett Culver. They were like, hey, let's get Darius Garland. We believe he's the best player. It doesn't matter that we already have a point guard last year. Whoever wins out, wins out.
Yeah, I think when you're a team that isn't, unless you have a bona fide star at the position, if
Trae Young.
Yeah, so if the Hawks went and drafted a point guard,
yeah,
it would be what are you doing? But if you don't really have a clear cut established star player, when you're in the top 5-7 picks of the draft, you kind of have to go with best available, because I mean you can work them into the rotation. It's possible no matter what you do. I mean, they could be coming off the bench and still playing 25-30 minutes a game. It's very possible.
All right, I think we should move on and actually, in sad news, Rodney Hood last night suffered an Achilles injury, and you hate to see it. Rodney Hood is definitely, I wouldn't call him a star, but
he was having a great season. With
the way Portland is right now, and with the amazing playoffs he had last year, and the start to the season has been good. And with Portland needing everything they can get, it's a big injury. And it sucks because an Achilles injury is one of the worst injuries you can suffer. And we saw how it's done to DeMarcus Cousins' career. We saw it's I would say the career ender. There are some players that can come back, but even players come back and they're not. I mean, Rudy Gay came back to be a decent role player. Wesley Matthews came back to be a decent role player.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already talking about Kevin Durant. I actually believe Kevin Durant was overpaid because an Achilles injury is that devastating. But with Rodney Hood is a player that relies a lot on his athleticism, and it destroys you athletically.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, and it already decimates a team that's already thin at forward. To lose another forward is just a huge blow for them. I mean, for the season, he's only got 11 points per game, but he's shooting 50% from the field and 49 from 3. That's pretty decent considering he's not a star player. He's a solid enough role player.
Yeah, and with a team like Portland that has already suffered 2 major injuries, last year with Nurkic and with Collins.
Yeah, and they're both out for extended periods of time.
It's just I hate to see it. I hope they can survive this. If anything, I think this pushes them further to try to get Kevin Love.
Yeah, I just worry about, do they have the assets to be able to trade for him?
I think if they give up, the problem with the Cavs is Anthony Simons also plays the guard position, and that'd probably be the piece that is the biggest trade piece.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I could see that trade working out is if it was a three-way trade.
Yeah.
But I don't know who the third team would be. But it's always sad when there's an injury like that, no matter who it is, honestly.
I just my only hope with Hood is for him to get better, to take the time he needs. I hope he gets his mind straight. I know, like, not just the physical aspect, but a lot of these injuries for these players can be really mentally devastating. I mean, these players love to play basketball, and not being able to play basketball can really, really affect you mentally. And I hope he just gets better and he comes back better than ever. That's all I can really say on that. It really, really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that maybe it's because there can't be two Hoods on the team? I mean, Hoodie Mello and Ronnie Hood. I mean, you can't have both on the same team. I think that maybe that's the problem right there.
God damn it, son.
You didn't see that coming, did you?
Dude, this guy just had a career-ending injury.
Yeah,
that's not too funny. Not
yeah,
okay.
that was
not
not
okay.
okay.
No,
was
get
not
out.
okay.
Get out.
Yeah, all right.
Actually, talking about Hoodie Mello, he got fully guaranteed for his contract. I guess his playing has been good enough.
Yeah, I mean, what else are they gonna do? They keep getting injured.
Yeah,
man.
A shoe out there that could play decent defense would be good enough for the Portland Trail Blazers right now. Do you think Portland is going to be able to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I still think they might be able to make the playoffs, but depends on who they end up getting, but I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be somewhere in the lower seeds. It's not going to be top 4, obviously.
I mean, the bottom of the West is, I would say, pretty open right now.
So, let me ask you something, and this might seem a little weird, but Steve Kerr says that he is enjoying the season. Do you think that is real or fake news?
That's fake news. Like, he's not enjoying the season. Like, there's no way. There's no way that you are enjoying having to spend time watching your team get its ass beat every night. Like, he says it's fun, but what's fun? It's not even like you. I feel like, okay, if I have a bad team, like the Atlanta Hawks, they're bad right now, but there's like hope. There's like, you go out at night and you can see wow, I'm blanking so hard. Trae Young go out and score like 40 points. That's fun. You can enjoy that. What is there to enjoy on that team? To me, they're the most unwatchable team in the NBA right now, except for like Pascal, Eric Pascal, maybe
Bowman.
I mean, D'Angelo Russell has barely played. Draymond Green's playing terrible. There's nothing to enjoy. I don't think it's I wouldn't even call it a coaching challenge. So you can be like, oh, I'm enjoying how difficult it is and I'm being challenged. Because he's not being challenged because they're trying to lose.
I just see this as clear. This is very clear cut. This is obviously just, what are you going to say? You're the head coach of a team that's not playing anywhere near to what they expected. Yeah. You knew you were going to have a drop off, but not this severe. Like, of course you're going to say you've enjoyed the season so far. You're not going to say, I am absolutely miserable. This is awful. Can I please just, can I be out for the rest of the year? I broke my hand, or I hurt my eye. I hurt my back. I need to be out for the year. Let's give a backup head assistant coach a shot, and this is the G League anyways, so might as well give our head coach a shot for the rest of the year.
I honestly would make up an injury as a coach, so I wouldn't have to be sitting at those games because they're hard to watch.
It's so hard. To be fair, though, I don't know, man. But, it's not fake news?
What?
Is the way the Bucks have been playing.
Oh, yeah, no. That is, they're amazing. Right now they're at a 14-game win streak.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're the favorites to come out of the East, I think.
I know.
For sure, at least.
Do you think it's a clear road right now? Do you think it's open? Completely open for them?
I don't know. I mean, again, it's a 7-game series, and, anything can happen. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you look at last year, and they were up on Toronto, and then just lost 4 straight. So I mean, that could easily happen again with Toronto.
But Giannis is playing, I think, at a whole nother level. I don't think he's getting the buzz that he deserves. But Giannis has improved immensely. He's a better passer. He's shooting from the three. He's smarter. He's a better decision maker. He's improved so much. And right now, I mean, he's on pace to probably have the highest PR in NBA history.
Yeah, his efficiency is like
incredible,
through the roof right now. I mean, considering that he's only playing like 31 minutes a game, and he's still scoring at a really high rate. Like his points per game are very similar to other people that are like in the MVP race, but he's playing like 6-7 minutes less on average per game than these players are.
My problem with them and why I almost say like they're the favorites to come out of the East, but I don't think they have a clear road, is for two reasons. Eric Bledsoe just dies come playoffs. He gets schemed way too much come playoffs. It might be better with Giannis shooting threes now, because now Eric Bledsoe's the only one in the starting five that can shoot. And I think come playoffs they're gonna miss Malcolm Brogdon. I really think that, especially with the year he's having.
Yeah, I mean, I love Malcolm Brogdon. I loved him since his rookie year.
I mean, I'm a Brogdon stan. I don't think he deserved Rookie of the Year, but I think he should have been.
Well, that was a really, really bad year for rookies. That was a really bad year for rookies. But he still played really well. But yeah, I think they're gonna miss him a lot. I mean, just what he brings to the table, because he's pretty decent defensively, and he could shoot, distribute the ball, and his play doesn't really fluctuate the same way that like Eric Bledsoe's play does. It's not like he's here, he's there, he's ready, he's not ready to go. But I mean, I think that they have a shot at making the finals, just like they did last year. If anything, they have a better shot, only because they don't have to go through Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, my only concern would probably be Philly, because while I don't think Philly is gonna be that great of a regular season team, if they can get Jordan Clarkson or get someone that can actually provide some offense off the buyout market or a trade, they're going to look better. But just the defense and how many guys they can put on Giannis. And that's my point. Because you can put Ben Simmons on him. You can put even Josh Richardson on him. You can put, obviously, Embiid and Horford on him. And so you just that's my only concern. But the thing is, if the Bucks can get offense from Brook Lopez, if they can get offense from Eric Bledsoe, they can get offense from Chris Middleton, from Kyle Korver, from any of their other role players, then they're going to be unbeatable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
While I don't think they're my favorites for the championship, if I was making a bet, I would put my money on them, because they just have that clearest road to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I agree.
And I just think with the Lakers and the Clippers, they're probably going to have to face each other. They're going to have to at least beat other heavily teams. So I just think they have the clearest road. They're going to have to play the less amount of games. They're going to be the least tired. They're going to have home court advantage.
Yeah, because they're probably going to it's very likely they have a better record.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, I agree with just about everything that you said. But again, I guess wait and see. But at least right now they're playing well. I mean, they had a little rough start to the season, I feel, especially with Giannis getting into foul trouble early on. But I think they've gotten things together, and hopefully no major injuries come up and really kind of throw their rhythm off. But I guess we'll see. But I mean, for me, the biggest news I want to talk about, and we've talked about this before and stuff, is just the fact about the no dunk.
Oh,
would you call it the no dunk? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a word. Dunkgate. Is this Dunkgate?
Like, I like Dunkgate.
Dunkgate. Yeah. All right, so let's call it Dunkgate. But if you guys, I'm sure if you're listening to an NBA podcast, you've probably heard about this. But I mean, James Harden against the Rockets a few nights ago. James Harden went, uncontested, went for a dunk, and it went all the way through, and then came out again because of the net, and the refs said there was a no basket that he missed because it came out. But clearly it was a dunk. It was very, very clear that it was a dunk. And this happened with I think it was 7 minutes, 50 seconds left. They were up by 16 or 20 points on the Spurs, and Mike D'Antoni couldn't call it his coach challenge because he waited too long. You have after you call a timeout, you have 30 seconds after you call a timeout in order to say that you're going to challenge, and that time went out.
Apparently there was some issues with the 30 seconds because from Mike D'Antoni's camp, it was pretty much stated that he was calling the coach's challenge as soon as that happened. But then that's not what the refs were saying, so it was a bit of back and forth on.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can agree, and the head of officiating agreed too. That was 100% a dunk. Yes. But the problem is so what ended up happening was the Spurs went on to catch up and tie the game in regulation. It then went into 2 overtime periods, and the Spurs ended up winning the game. And Houston is trying to appeal that and trying to get the last 7 minutes, 50 seconds
They want either
left
one
played.
of two things: to be given the win, which is not going to happen.
No, not going to happen.
No. Or to have to play the last 7 minutes, which would be in April. That's ridiculous.
It is. It really is. Because the way I see it, you were up by quite a large margin. It wasn't a close game.
Because the dunk didn't count. They were up by 13 with 7 minutes left in the game.
Were they?
Yeah.
So they were up. There was just under 8 minutes left in the entire game. And the game ended up as a tie. It wasn't like they came back and blew you out or won by 1 point or anything like that. It was tied. And then you couldn't win in 2 overtime periods. So there's been so much time since that dunk happened. That one dunk didn't mess up the flow of the rest of the game. Like, didn't happen in the last minute. It didn't even happen in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, the dunk wasn't the reason you lost. The reason you lost was because you couldn't stop Lonnie Walker and because your 2 best players shot terribly. Russell Westbrook shot 7 for 30 from the field, and then James Harden scored 50 points. But it is the worst efficient of the 50-point game with the most missed shots ever in NBA history.
Yeah, half his points came from the free throw line.
Yeah, and it kind of bothers me, even though it was the refs messed up. They messed up heavy, and I know there were rules against it, but I think there should always be an open window when it's such a call like that that's clearly wrong. There's I know with charges or with the foul at the 3, there's always like a give and take, like, oh, maybe your angle or something. They missed it. They didn't notice it. They were probably focused on what was coming next, right? So they probably weren't paying attention. But when it's a call like that that's clearly wrong, like 100% without a doubt wrong, I think you know how sometimes they'll take a shot and they're not sure if the foot been in the line or not, and so they'll give you like 2 points, and then they review it while the game continues, and then later they'll just add the extra point or take away the point. That's how it should have been done. The game shouldn't have been stopped. There should have been no review. The game would have kept playing, and then during like a timeout, they would have looked and be like, oh crap, yeah, it was obviously a dunk. We'll just give them the 2 points. That's what they should have done, but it didn't happen. But to complain about a missed call or a wrong call, you know how many wrong calls come up during a game? You know how many calls James Harden gets every game that were not fouls, that were forced?
The way I look at it, imagine, like, so you're saying that, that's essentially what you're doing is the same thing as, like, if a foul was called and you're trying to overturn an obvious foul, because a foul could be 2 points. Mm-hmm. Does that, those things happen all the time. That one foul doesn't change the course of the entire game with that much time left in the game. That's my biggest issue, is you can't go back and say, sorry, the last 8 minutes of the game, despite whatever happened, don't count. No. And all that, and then in both overtime periods, you had multiple opportunities to win. It wasn't like you were down. You weren't the ones down by 13 points. Mm-hmm. The Spurs were.
God, you were the favorite team as well. Like, it wasn't even like you were like the Cavs and you built a huge lead against the Clippers, and now you lost. You're literally the better team. You're playing against a team that has been playing terrible defense for the year, that is nowhere near the playoff picture, and you lost. I mean, the one thing I do think is that I think the coach's challenge is done after this year. It's a mess. Like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and most of the time, they don't even get, like, it doesn't, you don't even win the challenge most of the time. And it has to be obvious. There can't be, like, a question about it. It needs to be an obvious, like, error.
It just takes time away from the game. It breaks the flow of the game. And there's so many rules to it that not everyone understands. I know they tried it in the G League for a while, and then they moved it here, and I know there's still twerks and things that they're trying to work. But to me, just take it out. Just forget about it. It was a bad call. Just take out the coach's challenge. It just doesn't work.
So thanks for listening today, guys. As I said earlier on, we're going to release another episode on Thursday that's going to have our main topic of the week, which was about ratings in the NBA and stuff. That will have Lewis on that. Other than that, we have started a YouTube channel. It's called 48 Minutes or Less. We release our podcasts on there, but they're going to be like 2 or 3 days later than when we release them on your podcast provider. So as always, you want to make sure that if you want to stay up to date with the podcast, you hit that subscribe button on your podcast provider. But besides that, on the YouTube channel, we also have a 2K20 rebuild series that I have going on with the Kansas City Knights. And then soon we'll have other videos like team profiles, player profiles, and maybe some other kind of videos on there. So if that has any interest if you have any interest in that at all, please like, comment, and subscribe on any of those videos so that way you can get that content. And please, we really enjoy comments if we get any, because we like to hear feedback from what you guys like. And besides that, have a good night, guys.